Welcome back to the workshop of Wood Spun Round. This is Doug. It is so good to have you back in the shop with me again. I've got a piece of pear on the lathe today, and you see there's a little limb. That's why the tool rest is so far back. Got to get that limb out of the way. And instead of taking it to the other end of the shop and cutting it with a bandsaw, it's just quicker. Just a few passes here and it's gone. So that's why I chose to do it this way. So I'll stop the lathe just real quick there and bring my tool rest right on up. One of the things we don't do quite enough is move our tool rest so that it's in the right position. So that's what I wanted to do here. Then we're going to start just getting the bark off, getting it round, preparing it to turn it around. Going to make this end on your left. It's my right. That's going to be the bottom, and so wanted to move my tool rest so I can start the curve going up on the side of this bowl and also make the tenon before we turn it around. It may look like I'm going against the grain, but this is actually an end grain bowl. I'm not turning it in the normal side grain position. I've got it end to end. The end grain is in the two between centers. And so going downhill literally is going downhill. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing here. Just using the skew to finish the shape of the tenon there. Got it turned around in the chuck here. And again, I'm going from top to bottom here, going downhill with the grain because this is an end grain piece. I've switched here to a spindle gouge just to make some of the shape and finalize some of the shaping of the outside here. Just saw a tiny little section of bark there at the rim, and so I wanted to take that off. All right, let's get a little work on the inside done. First, let's flatten off the top. Just noticed my ring was still on, so took it off, put it in my pocket, and that's where it'll stay till I get done. Using the spindle gouge to hollow the bowl out is a little different from using a bowl gouge, and so that's what you saw there. The spindle gouge was trying to skip back on me just a little bit. I wasn't presenting it exactly right. It took me a couple of times and I figured out what I was doing wrong. Change the angle so you could see what's going on, but you still see a lot of nice curly shavings coming out of that bowl. This is pear. It was cut down right at a year ago. It was not the healthiest of trees when it was taken down. In fact, a windstorm came through and blew it over, and it's laid there on the ground for, I don't know, about 6 weeks or so. Then the owner and I cut it up, and they graciously gave me all the wood out of it that I wanted. So this is a piece of that. Love to know how long that streamer was right there. Through with the gouge, going to move over to a bowl scraper, just cleaning out the bottom, getting a nice smooth curve all the way from top to bottom, bottom to top. Time for sanding. I'm going to sand here from 60 to 340 grit. Not going to show you all of it. In fact, right there I'm at 320 already. As you can see, I've got the vacuum on, drawing that dust away from me just as quick as I produce it. Going to move on here to some Axe abrasive paste. That Axe abrasive paste takes it from that 320 that I sanded at all the way up to 1,000 grit. But does it without the dust, and so I don't have to use the vacuum cleaner. Saves all that noise in my ear and also a bit of energy. Saves my lungs a bit as well. Right about there that I realized I didn't use any sanding sealer. So I just simply set the abrasive paste aside because I'm going to put another coat on here as soon as I get this one wiped off. We'll start the lathe at about 250, work it up as that grit gets finer and finer until I'm buffing it off at around 12 or 1400 RPMs. Just finishing up with that first coat. Going to go ahead and turn the lathe speed back down. That way when I get the next coat of paste on it, I won't sling it all off. I'm also going to apply it with the lathe off. I suppose it could go on at 250 just fine. I like to make sure I've got a good even coverage all over before I turn the lathe on. Then I start at 250 just to begin the abrasive process, and then I'll speed the lathe up bit by bit, turning the paper towel to a clean section as I go along. you're interested in the full process of using the Axe abrasive paste and the polishing restoring paste, I do have a video that's dedicated just to that process. We're all finished here with the abrasive paste, getting ready to put some restoring polishing paste. This is a carnauba-based wax. Tom reformulated back earlier this year, reformulated his wax. He's putting twice as much carnauba wax into it now, so it really comes out, gives you a real nice finish in the end. Finishing up the buffing process with this wax. After I've worked it initially, I like to speed the lathe up even further. Try to build a bit of heat. That lets that wax kind of melts it in, not only into the wood but onto the wood, and helps the wax to form that barrier so that it not only shines but it protects the wood from whatever might come along here in the near future. But you can see there it's got a pretty nice shine. It's not a high gloss, heavy lacquer kind of shine, but it's a really nice wax shine. Bring the tool rest back up. Let's go ahead and part it off. The only problem with parting with a parting tool, or for any tool for that matter, is you almost cannot help but leave a nub. And I want to do some more work on the bottom of this anyway, so it's not the worst thing in the world to have a little bit of a nub. There it goes. Recently got this set of mini coal jaws. I had an extra chuck and installed these jaws on that chuck, and so I've turned it around into that mini coal jaw where I can access this bottom. Not only I don't remove the tenon because I leave it for a foot, but I reduce it, get it concave inside this little foot that I'm creating. There I am sanding. I sanded the same way, 60 to 320. Gives a nice smooth finish. Once I'm through sanding, well, here I'm still going through the process here. But once I go through sanding, I'll show you here in just a minute that I get my mini skew out. Right there it is. And I'll put my 3 lines that I can use as guides to put my signature and my mark on the bottom of the piece. You see the lines very clearly right there. I've just touched them up with a little 320. Pulling out my engraver, and I'll do my signature and mark on it. Going to hit all that one more time with just a little bit of 320, just to get any fuzzies I may have knocked up with the engraver there. Again, the Axe abrasive paste just takes a little bit for just a minute. Then a bit of wax. With these cold jaws, I can't run the speed up. The max speed with the cold jaws is 800. And so just take a little bit more time. I don't use quite as much of either one, the abrasive paste or the wax, but I do use them. Run it at 800 and just let it be what it is. Still comes out pretty well. Didn't hold on to the paper towel. It went flying, so I'm done. Be sure to click the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, if you'd share this video with your friends on your social media, that would help tremendously. I've got a few stills coming up for you here in just a second, so you'll want to hold on for those. Until we get to meet again, hope you're able to spin them around.